Hi, morning everybody. We've got Rob here from Kent speaking to us today. Hi Rob, how are you today?
Good morning, Sheelagh. How you doing? I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what happened to your stroke? I believe you had a stroke in lockdown.
I did not how I was expecting to spend the first lockdown. I'd been out the day before buying DIY supplies and building works and lots of other things, and yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting. But yeah, I was doing some building in the house and just thought I had a migraine because of lots of lights. I was fitting up lights so the kids could play outside in the dark. Um, Went to a hospital with a migraine, which obviously you wouldn't do in the middle of a lockdown, obviously an epidemic. Sent home again, went back, I think, the next day or the day after, said, this isn't right, I don't feel good. And the second time round, they picked up on, okay, let's do some scans, and I found out I had a stroke. Wasn't what I was expecting. And yeah, definitely different during lockdown. Probably got seen a bit quicker second time round because no one was in the hospital. So one benefit, I suppose.
So you mentioned you'd felt ill in the weeks running up to your stroke. Tell us about that.
I'd been getting lots of things, but I've been getting quite regular migraines. Um, to be honest with you, absolutely adamant. Everyone was adamant that I'd had COVID. I had all the symptoms of flu, high temperature, fever, a persistent cough, which I went to a doctor's, which I don't go to GPs. Typical man thing. I don't go unless you're really dying. And they told me I had a double lung infection, gave me antibiotics, and sent me on my way. Um, and it just an escalation. And then again, I think I'm not blaming the doctors. They missed me. I went there telling them, I said, I've got a migraine that just won't go. I've had it 2 days now. So I think my stroke was a couple of days before I finally got diagnosed. I've got a migraine, it won't go. I'm feeling really ill. Gave me some tablets, went up to the pharmacy, got the prescription. And then I went back again. And this is when a different doctor said, okay, let's go and do some tests. And that's when they picked up on it. Unfortunately, I wasn't presenting with a normal face and arms and speaking. I could do all that. It was the visual, the eyesight, and my balance. But of course, balance and eyesight go hand in hand. So obviously, when you can't see because you've got a migraine, you get bad balance.
So of course, with it being lockdown, your wife couldn't go into A&E with you, so you were on your
Correct.
own in there, dealing with whatever you were about to deal with.
Yeah.
And you said you got wheeled out in a wheelchair and
Yeah. I mean, on the first, when
discharged.
they put me in the CT machine. I think my wife was allowed then. Bit fortunate. Both my sisters are nurses, and so I go to the hospital they work at because I know lots of doctors there because they've been nurses for 20 years and does have some benefits. So yeah, my wife. But then of course, and then they took me up to a ward and stuff. That's when of course my wife wasn't allowed,
Mm.
and I think I was on the ward for 2 days, maybe three. But that was hard because up until this point I didn't really know what a stroke was. I didn't understand it. And my companion, obviously, I didn't know about different strokes. My companion at this stage was my iPhone and Google, which is a terrible combination when you don't know what you're looking at and you're trying to self-diagnose something on Google. It's going to be awful. Yeah, you can imagine what it tells you.
Well, that's it. And you yourself are trying to get your head round being told that you've had a stroke and thinking, well, I'm too young to have a stroke. What is a stroke? What's happening?
What
What's
is a
going
stroke?
on?
Exactly. What is a stroke? What does that mean to me? And
Yeah,
oh God, don't ever Google that question. Horrible answers.
exactly. And every everything you read is totally different, and you need something that tailors it to what you're personally going through. But
Yeah,
it's such a shock. It's like your life changes in a second, kind of thing, when you hear that word. And you've got to get your head round it. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, because nobody sits to explain it to them.
yeah, because as the name's different, stroke. Everyone's stroke is different.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're physical. Sometimes it's not obvious. It's hidden in so many cases, and that's really where I struggled, was the emotion, probably more so than anything else. Um, because obviously no one can see it. Because the emotional and not so much cognitive, because it's furlough and I'm sitting at home not working, but the emotional side of things.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't understand in the slightest how mental health can affect you. Again, probably typical middle-aged man. Oh, whatever. Mental health doesn't really exist. Everyone thinks they've got it. I've changed my mind now. I get it now. I never understood it, and I now have an understanding of how badly the anxiety and the feeling and my feelings, how they changed over the course of those first couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we're all guilty of seeing mental health as a certain type of thing, but there's a
Yeah.
whole load of boxes it can fit in. And, like you say, your emotions just after you've had a stroke and everything, are all over the place. Everything
Oh
goes
God, yeah.
goes through your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, like it's a typical 40, late 40. I'll admit to that. You don't cry, you don't get actually. My wife said actually I'm a nicer person now because apparently I'm a bit more emotional and I talk and I'm a bit more open than I used to be. So I think apparently it's softened me, but I think it's softened my view on things. My approach and what I think is now important is different from what was important 7 months ago.
I I I totally understand that. Yeah, it's like every day's there, grab it kind of thing. And
Yeah,
because, unfortunately, I don't think none of us realize until something happens, how quickly things can be snatched away from us.
yeah.
We do live in a real world, but we've all got this thing that plays in our head. No, that's not going to happen to me.
Oh no,
It'll
it's
be
it's it's,
fine.
it's
And
someone else. And
yeah,
yeah, we are on borrowed time. We have one chance of doing this life, and my guilt was always work. I used to work 50, 60 hours a week. I'd work just about every day of the week. I'd come home and start work. I enjoyed work. That was my relaxation. I worked all the time. But
yeah,
of course, what was I missing out? I was missing watching and talking to getting emotional there, thinking about it. Watching my kids grow and taking time out with the kids and things which, if you're not here, you can't do, can you? And almost in those couple of weeks, where it all finally settled in what had happened, more importantly, what could have happened.
yeah,
Um, that's the key. What could have happened? Actually, going to work and working and it's really it is important. I believe that.
yeah.
Obviously, of course it's important. I'm not that type of person who I've worked since I was 17 years old, but it's not the most important thing in the world. It's not. It can't be.
No, you've got to find that balance, and sometimes it
Yeah,
takes these things to make us find the balance. So on the subject of spending more time with your children and your wife,
yeah.
you
I'm
got
sure they agree.
you got that because obviously when you would have got out of hospital, your children were on uh, leave from school because the schools
They
were
were.
closed.
Yeah.
So did you and your wife have to get involved in homeschooling?
No, you can put me on the naughty list. I don't think Fortnite and PlayStation counts. We did it. We did a little bit, but no, there was enough stress, enough going on.
Yeah,
No, the last thing I wanted to worry about was getting involved and getting because I think I am quite strict with the kids. I believe you got to be strict because I don't want them. Obviously, I need to learn the work ethics. But I think in this situation, within reason,
yeah,
we left them to it. There's enough going on, and they didn't understand. And as far as they were concerned, I just looked the same person. Apart from I was sleeping a hell of a lot when I got home.
yeah,
But like I said, it was lockdown, so they had to come and see me in hospital using trackers on phones and waving at you from downstairs on the ground floor through a window because the hospital was empty, so you could walk along the walls and no one was in there. So I
yeah,
found a window that was open and I could wave out a window to them, and that was how they saw their dad. You
yeah,
know, couldn't speak to me properly, and had to wait to me for it, and that's got not that they say that must be hard on them as well.
yes.
So no, I didn't want to bust their balls and doing homework and doing teaching, and I'm not very good. I'm not very patient.
No, And I don't think children are very patient when it's their parents teaching them either. If someone else does it, that's a different ball game.
It
But
is, yeah.
you know, kids don't listen to their parents anyway.
Not for doing schoolwork, no.
No, and I mean, like you say, there was enough going on. You know, the fact that they'd been thrown into this world of no school and everything must have been quite scary for children, I think, because we always, as parents, we
Yeah.
always insist you've got to go to school. You've always got to go to school because you've got to learn. And all of a sudden, the school gates were closed, and it was like,
I think my three really enjoyed it. They loved it. Especially the oldest one. No school, loved it. As far as he was concerned, it was holiday and sit at home. But yeah, I don't think my kids fall into that category of being scared. They were just glad not to be going to school and sitting at home and
yeah.
getting up late and wearing their pajamas all day long. But they're not babies. So they're not little kids anymore. But they're old enough to say, so I'm going to sit at home and do nothing all day, and they quite enjoyed it with their iPads.
Yeah. Did they? What ages are they? Did they go back to school before the summer?
Yeah. Well, my wife's a key worker, so we did send them back to school. Actually, in furlough because they were allowed to go back to work, back to school.
Right.
Work, as I call it, as far as I'm concerned, it's work. That's their equivalent of work.
Yeah.
So they are 13, 11, and 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and my daughter was 10, so she had a birthday whilst it was lockdowns. It was in April, and literally, so I'd just come out of hospital. So yeah, so it was an interesting birthday.
Yeah, I think that's the in thing for 2020. I think most people will have had their birthdays in lockdown by the time we finish this year.
Yeah.
Our household, we all had our birthdays. Even our dogs had their birthdays in the first lockdown. And my eldest son was like, "Oh, I'll be all right. My birthday's in December. I won't be in lockdown." Well, we're thinking now,
yeah.
you might be in lockdown. So, but anyway, it's
they were fine about it. And the other two's birthdays were just before lockdown, so they got away with that.
Yeah, it is what it is, and you just got to make the best of it and what have you, and get on with it.
Exactly. Be grateful for the positives, because I see so much negatives with this whole situation, and it's horrible. So it helps what some people are having to put up with.
Yeah.
Just be grateful, and just this is my attitude with it now. Appreciate the positives. It's no point dwelling on the negatives. It's just we can all do that, and it's just not a route that's going to really help you move forward.
Yeah.
Got to look at where the positives are, where you can. And I know that's not easy. A lot of people have got this really hard with what's going on. But you've got to try and find if you can, where possible.
Well, that's it. I think it's what keeps us all going. Even if we can get a little chink of positivity, like you say, other people going through different things, but a little chink, takes us all a long way.
Yeah.
So you went back to work then?
So yeah, I was desperate. I was pestering them, and I was meant to go back to work to set up. I've worked in the same place for 11 years. So I was due to go back in what's the date? April, May, to set the building up, get ready, because they were dropping people in. I work in retail in the motor sector, and they were busy as well. It's as busy as it ever has been, because no one wants to get in public transport. Everyone's got spare money. No one can go to the shops. People were spending money, and there weren't as many staff in. But unfortunately, I couldn't go in because I've just had a stroke, so they were very cautious. But I got myself back to work. I was volunteering, because technically you can't work during furlough.
Yeah.
So I was going there doing some volunteering work. And that then told me what was going on. So at first, they were very good at work. I can't knock them. Made some allowances, but then I realised part of what's happened to me, because physically I look fine.
Yeah.
Actually, physically, everyone keeps telling me I look, because I lost loads of weight. I lost about 3 stone as a result of a stroke. Not eating, change of habits, walking everywhere. But huge sense, because of the eyesight, my senses have gone to absolute mayhem. So particularly the noise and voices, lots of people talking, lots of noise, absolutely hurts my head. And that was one of the biggest things we had to work around work. I couldn't sit with the other people. I'm probably better now because I'm getting used to it. I'm learning strategies. So I went in, then I was off sick again because it didn't work too well. It was too noisy, too busy. But yeah, we seemed to work it, and we're getting into our flow. Had a really good couple of months, and then of course lockdowns come around again.
So you're back on furlough again.
But I got back on furlough a couple of weeks ago, and they've left me on furlough for a month.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. They've got some people in, but Joe, what I don't mind it so much this time.
Well, that's it. And it's giving you another rest. You know, you've had to adjust going back to work, and you know, it just gives your recovery some time and
Yeah,
everything. And that sensory overload that you were talking about.
that was quite huge.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that.
No, it takes you by surprise, and you know, you might find that every so often the overload is just too much, and you just got to literally, I feel like running away from it, kind of thing.
Yeah, just to
Get
get a
that away.
break away from it. From just
Yeah.
yeah, it's still there with noise. It's noise is my sensory overload. It's lots of noises, lots of voices, but I now know what triggers it, and
Yeah.
because I've learned, then you can adapt and work around it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of these things. I think it's like fatigue. It comes and goes, but you can't predict when it's going to come and go, and you've just got to be prepared and deal with it and what have you. I know one of our members of Different Strokes gets around it by putting earphones in. If she's
Yeah,
on public transport, something, there's a lot of noise going on, and she doesn't want that to sort of cloud what she's going to do, kind of thing. So she puts headphones in so she can't. It blocks out all that noise.
I did the same. So I bought these headphones for exactly when I was at work. I'd put these on, and I'd put the sound of thunder and lightning on, rain in the background, and I'd be sitting in the office with the earphones in just to block out noise in the background.
Yeah.
And I did exactly the same thing, and I found that just helped relax the brain.
Yeah. It's just sometimes the slightest little thing. You've just I don't know. It's finding the coping mechanisms and realizing that there is a way around it all, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and it's not well, I say life carries on, and I'm too young to sit back. I've still got bills to pay and mortgages and 3 young kids to grow up. So you got to somehow find a way forward. And I know everyone's got a different attitude about resting and take time. It's not my way. It's never been. I've worked all my life. I don't have. We spoke about it obviously before we come online. My idea of a horrible holiday, is to sit next to a beach, next to a swimming pool for 8 hours doing nothing. It's just not what I need to be busy. I need to be occupied. Maybe not as much as I was before,
Yeah.
but that helps me. It distracts me. I think maybe it's a distraction.
Yeah, I'm like you. Couldn't sit lying by a pool all day. I've got to be, if I go on holiday, I want to be out doing things, seeing things, and what have you. Seeing where I am and what have you. I think because everybody's stroke is different and everybody's personality is different and situations different. You've just got to marry it all up together and do what's right for you.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's obviously all the other obviously Different Strokes families. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
And I know we all love to give each other advice. It's difficult, but you just got to try to make the most of. You're right. Find the right strategy that works for yourself.
Yeah, and just go with that. And
like mine's just being busy as much as possible as I can within reason. Just finding things to do. I get bored otherwise. Get bored very easy.
There's always something to do in the house. There's always housework to be done, Rob.
Yeah, don't use the H word. That doesn't count. Yes, I get reminded about that regularly.
Get your wife to leave you a list in the morning. That'll keep you busy.
She has done. She just reminds me now.
She probably realises that there's no chance it's all going to get done. He'll find something to do.
I'll find something else to do. There's always a job to do in the house somewhere.
Well, that's it. Especially with 3 children running around and what have you.
There's no garden. Unfortunately, the garden is now finished this time of year. So I can't cut the grass twice a week, or not that I did, so I can't, no more gardening now. There's always a job to do.
Yeah, that was the plus side of the first lockdown, was the good weather. Like
Yes.
we said earlier, the days are darker. It's dark here today. I feel like I should have the lights on because it's just miserable here today. It's dark by 4 o'clock, 4:30.
Yeah.
You can't get out in the garden.
No, it's true. But everyone's gardens did look lovely on lots of pictures.
Well, that's it.
You could tell the difference. You can see who had the gardens and what they were doing. They look lovely.
Yeah, and everyone's house is lovely decorated as well.
Wouldn't quite go that far. No, fortunately, I was in the middle of decorating, obviously, when the stroke happened. So, but we've got most of it finished now.
Yeah, there's always those jobs that you need doing, but you kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll paint that room.
No, unfortunately, it's man. We call it man job. Do 95%. You've got to leave 5% left. You do a 5% some other time.
Just in case you need something to do, that 5%.
Just in case it's an excuse to get out of housework.
So you mentioned you're still struggling with your vision.
Yes.
Tell us what happened there then.
Basically, I've got left vision field loss. So I've learned to adapt to it as much as I can. Obviously, drive. I've given my car back at work and a few other bits. I don't trust myself driving. Whether I'd pass the test at the DVLA, I might pass it, I might not. But I know it's a hell of a lot harder to get your license back once you've lost it. So I was just waiting. So come the new year, my intentions are to send the forms off. So I've not driven really since the stroke now. I'm not that silly to take a risk. And actually, I've quite enjoyed it not driving. I've been driving. I was working it out before we come on here, about 31 years. I started driving when I was 17, motorbikes. Yeah. Actually, 16, I started driving on bikes. Passed my test at 17. So I've been driving 31, 32 years, almost probably every single day of my life. And it's quite nice. Obviously, we've got one car now. Wife drives everywhere. And I've actually quite enjoyed it being driven around, which I did all the driving within reason.
Yeah.
We'd go on long holidays driving across Europe. I'd always drive. The kids ask now, who's going to drive if we go on holiday, Dad? Or this is strange you not driving, because I was a confident driver who works in the motor trade. So you can imagine how my driving was like. I drove every day, 30, driven longer than some of our members have been alive. And all of a sudden, overnight, I'm not driving. Yeah. So that's the strangest thing. I think I will drive again, but I'm not in a rush. Yeah. I don't think it's not something that I need to push myself with. Well, see how it goes.
You've got to feel confident when you're doing it.
Yes.
Is there anything they can do with your vision to improve it or work on it?
No, I think no, because it's literally. Again, you can see I can't see my hand moving right now.
Right.
But I can see you, and I'd passed an eyesight test. I've got 20/20 vision, so I can read the number plates and I can see the distances. I don't use glasses for anything. I just can't see my hand moving right there as I'm looking at the screen. So I just lost. Again, it's I know really common. Lots of people write on here and ask that advice. I don't think, and there's a few programs from America which you can subscribe to. I would look at those if money was maybe a little bit better and was working. It probably wouldn't be a big deal. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But you're right. I wouldn't want to take the risk in the car. I want to be confident. God forbid something happens and I hurt someone. I've got to live with that. Yeah. And for the sake of asking someone to give me a lift, not getting a bus. Not quite going to go down that route yet.
Well, you're a few years from getting a bus pass yet.
Yes, I've not gotten a bus since I was a teenager, so I'm not going down that route. No, wouldn't know where to start. And obviously, I quite enjoy walking, a bit of exercise. Yeah. It's less than, luckily my legs and stuff haven't been affected. If it's a couple of miles, a brisk walk it's good for you, and I quite enjoy it. It's nice in the eyes. I'm not looking at screens. I'm not working, and I find it really relaxing. So I quite enjoy walking. which
Yeah.
asked me that 7 months ago, I would have looked at you like, oh my God, why would you walk? You got a car.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a bad habit we all get into. You want to go
Yeah.
somewhere, you jump in the car and drive, don't you?
Yeah. Sometimes it takes longer to drive than some of the journeys that I walk. But that's just what I did. You know, I've driven 31, 32 years. It's just what I've always done.
Yeah.
So I'm quite enjoying it, not driving and not having that responsibility. It's not the end of the world. And it doesn't seem to be not working, having one car in the house. It seems to work in the whole.
Yeah. And then a
So,
few years' time, as the children grow up, they can all start driving you
oh
around as
God,
well.
I've got three kids. You know, one of them's a teenager, won't be that long, and they can start driving me around.
Well, that's it. Might as well make use of them.
No doubt they're asking me to buy them a car, so you know, I might as well get the most out of it. I'm sure
Well,
they'll be
exactly.
tapping up. Dad, sort the car out. Yeah,
Sounds like typical children.
yeah, exactly.
So, well, thank you very much for talking to us today,
No,
Rob,
you're more than welcome. Thank you for
and
ringing.
have a lovely Christmas. And
I will do. That's it.
hopefully the
That's it. All
weather.
choose our bubbles carefully. Choose those 3 families that we want, we can handle for a whole week.
Yes, yes, it's and keep each other safe in the meantime, and we'll see what happens over the next few weeks and what happens after Christmas
Hopefully, it
as
gets
well.
better and the rates go. Well, we're all pinning our hopes on that vaccine. So fingers crossed if it works as well as it says.
That's it.
Is it ever going to go? Is this may be with us now forever? We don't know, do we?
Now, I don't think anybody can give us the answers to that either. You know, it's still one of these things that's a bit unbelievable, but we'll certainly look back on 2020 as
Yeah. Unbelievable, but it was so obviously inevitable at some point. It just
yeah,
happens to be this is the year. But the will's there, the inclination is there, the money's being chucked at it's got every possibility of actually dealing with it, unlike things in the past, because they want to this time. So
yeah.
it's hopefully that it's looking positive. I think it'll be fine. Be positive. It's got to be.
Well, that's it. And I think it's made a lot of people stop and think about, their lives and how they lead them and what
Yeah.
have you. So I think there'll be a lot more positives to come out of it. Obviously, there's positives and negatives to everything, but hopefully, there'll be a lot more positives come out of this situation.
Let's hope so.
Okay. Well, thank you very much
No,
once
thank you,
again,
Sheelagh.
and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot. Thank you. Bye.